now. So as of this moment, the session is being recorded, and since we have so many people on the line, again, as I said, I muted the lines. You can press #5 to unmute yourself and ask a question. Keep in mind that if you put your phone on hold, everyone will hear your hold music as well. So I would encourage you to simply hang up if you need to take another call and dial back in. I've muted the entry and exit tones, so no one here will know the difference if you need to hang up and join again. That's a much easier way to do it. Our presenter today is Richard Drake. We're going to be learning about NYSERDA's Advanced Clean Energy Exploratory Research Funding Solicitation. Richard has a 40-year career in energy research and development, currently acting as the Senior Technology Advisor to NYSERDA's Technology and Business Innovation Group. Prior to that, he spent over 30 years managing transportation and power systems R&D at NYSERDA, overseeing a $30 million a year multifaceted energy research program focused on collaborative technology advancement, product development, and demonstration in the transportation and power systems areas. Electric transportation technology and infrastructure, together with energy storage technology, comprised a major portion of his program's portfolio, with activities ranging from grid-scale demonstration projects to creation and oversight of the New York Battery and Energy Storage Technology Consortium, otherwise known as New York BEST. Prior to joining NYSERDA, Richard was a program manager in the Energy Systems Business Unit of Mechanical Technology Incorporated and manager of Energy Engineering, Corporate Energy Development of Mahasco Corporation. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Richard can correct me. Richard attended Clarkson College, Potsdam, New York, and Union College in Schenectady, New York, and has a BSME degree. He's a licensed professional engineer in the states of New York and California, and a holder of multiple patents in the energy area. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton over to Richard. Everyone should be able to see his presentation at this point. And Richard, are you there? He was.
With $3 million. $3 million. That has been we've got an echo in the line.
We do. We can just now hear you, but all right. I'm going to have to mute everyone. And Richard, you're going to have to press #5 to unmute just yourself, please. Why are we not? Richard, did you press #5 to unmute yourself?
Richard?
Okay, so.
Hello?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to have to ask everyone else other than Richard to please mute your line. And Richard, please proceed.
Okay. Sorry about that. We still have $3 million. We've replenished the funding as it has gone out the door. The program has actually been in place for almost about a year, and it's scheduled to conclude in November of this year. However, there's reasonable expectation that it will continue because it's doing quite well. The program is designed to be a portal through which technologies and business models not included in our current program focus areas, but which have great potential to achieve our corporate goals, can be evaluated and funded. Essentially, it's a mechanism for us to accept what otherwise would be unsolicited proposals to NYSERDA, which are very difficult for us to handle. It's also a mechanism to provide timely support to New York businesses and universities proposing to ARPA-E. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. It's unique in many perspectives, from many perspectives. It's the first technology and business innovation solicitation to use a long-term open enrollment as opposed to batch receipt of the due date proposals, and a two-step process where first a concept paper is submitted and followed by an invitation to submit a full proposal. It's the first to evaluate concept papers and full proposals individually against a standardized yardstick as opposed to competitively against other proposals received in the batch. That has some pretty unique eligibility criteria, the primary being that whatever activity is being proposed is not eligible under any other NYSERDA funding opportunity. We only accept electronic submittals on an open, rolling basis. Concept papers are required to conform to a standardized 4-page format. We use the same scoring rubric and essentially the yardstick as other solicitations, but we have what I'll call a higher bar. 2 concept papers submittals are allowed within a 12-month period from any submitter. All submittals receive a written debrief. This allows someone who is not successful on the first submittal of a concept to get a debriefing and resubmit that concept paper addressing the defined weakness. We have a unique treatment of concept papers which are simultaneously under ARPA-E review. If your concept paper is reviewed by us and found to meet our requirement, we then defer via or through an MOU we have with ARPA-E.
Richard, excuse me one moment. Folks, you have got to mute your lines. We're getting horrible feedback here. Everyone who is not speaking, kindly mute your phone line.
Okay. Hey, there you are. Yes, so we defer to ARPA-E the review of a full proposal. So if you're successful with both them to submit a full proposal and favorably reviewed by us with your concept paper, with a technical review of the full proposal is done by ARPA-E. The applicant in most cases are able to provide a 30-day turnaround on concept paper reviewed. We use primarily internal NYSERDA staff with outside consultation. The outside consultants generally do not vote at the concept paper stage. Full proposal invitations include the addition of questions that are specifically customized to the concept paper topic. When you respond to a batch-type due date solicitation, they're very generalized to within what we're looking for within a sector. When we are following up on a very specific concept proposal, we customize the specific questions that we would like answered in the full proposal. The selection process includes a proposer presentation to the scoring committee to answer issues not adequately addressed in that full proposal. We use a unique NYSERDA scoring committee for each proposal, with reviewers selected to have very specific expertise in the proposal or the concept paper or proposal topic. So, where are we? So far, we've received a little over 200 concept papers, just doing a check, and we've 22 from SUNY schools and another 16 from other universities. So that's maybe 10% or thereabout from SUNY and another 9 or so percent from other universities. Thus far, 15 submitters have been invited to submit a full proposal directly to NYSERDA, plus we currently have 7 ARPA-E contingent proposals where we've approved the concept paper, and we are awaiting word from ARPA-E on their scoring for receipt of the concept papers and full proposals. We've completed
Richard, are you there? No. Richard, we've lost sound on you for some reason.
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. Richard?
Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So the odds are actually fairly low in terms of receiving a funding award compared to most of our batch-focused solicitations, which typically run, we're sub 10%, but probably more like 7 or 8% versus generally on the order of maybe 30% of proposals received to some of our focus solicitations. The funding has been replaced. We have good projects coming in. They're well received, and we still have funding. Project topics have been over an extremely wide range, everything from nuclear to greenhouse gas capture to software development, business model innovation. Some very popular areas have been small wind, fuel cells, hydro, advanced lighting, carbon CO2 capture, solar technologies, hydrogen, and advanced building products. These are, for the most part, areas that used to be within NYSERDA's broader scale program. We have recently, over the past 2 years, much more narrowly focused many of our program areas, which now exclude things like fuel cells, hydro, advanced lighting. So this is really the only place where projects in those areas still have a home within NYSERDA, as well as totally brand new areas that we've never had program opportunities for. Requested funding ranges from maybe about $50K up to $1 million, which is the maximum amount of funding that can be requested specifically under this solicitation. That can, in fact, be, of course, a first phase of a much larger program that may go additional years and have additional funding to it, but our maximum commitment out of this solicitation specifically is $1 million. So, some examples of awards to date are listed here. I'm not going to get too deep in them. If there are questions, I can certainly address those later. As you'll see, most of them have been with the private sector as opposed to universities. You have Columbia and City College, New York, and also not shown here is Syracuse University. We have several pending out of the 7 that are ARPA-E contingent, I'm going to call it, from SUNY schools. So I'm hoping that some of those, of course, come through. We're doing things, addressing things that have a much longer time to market, I'll call it, than we typically would look at in most of our other focus area solicitations. Dealing with, for example, the Columbia University project, photosynthetic proteins capable of high efficiency conversion of atmospheric CO2 to liquid fuels in a bioreactor. Time to market is not critical, but we really are looking for longer term, high reward concepts. Okay, a couple of thoughts here. This is not a fast track process, as you might guess, based on the number of steps that one has to go through to get there. However, it gives us the opportunity to have a great deal of interaction with a proposing team. Typically, with all of the rest of NYSERDA solicitations, our procurement practices really don't allow us to speak with anybody at all from the time really a solicitation goes on the street, but certainly once a proposal is received until the final awards are notified. With this program, we in fact have the opportunity, because of debriefings and second concept paper submittals and specific questions and answers and presentations that are performed through the process of making a determination. There's a much greater possibility for interaction with a proposing team and everybody getting on the same page as to what we're going to do. The concept paper is the most important step. It's the most difficult step. You don't get an invite to submit a full proposal unless you score or accumulate 85 points to get that full proposal invite. And what I'm going to do for the next couple of minutes is give you some insight as what I have found to be the most important things, or maybe the best way to put it is the thing that is missed most frequently by submitters. Lots of times we have really great ideas that are discussed or provided in a means that don't score well. The concept paper template defines the topics to be addressed and actual questions that need to be answered. However, the more important piece is the scoring criteria that defines the scorecard we use to evaluate the response. So you can have a great idea and the narrative can be great, but if you're not touching on the issues that rack up points, it's just not going to work. So there are 6 evaluation criteria, areas of evaluation that fit or match up against the questions that are asked on the template. And the way that the questions are asked in the template clearly would allow someone to provide a very good answer in their own terms, but if they haven't really read the scoring criteria, they may be off base in terms of providing us the kind of information and detail that would allow them to rack up the points. For example, impact is the first question that needs to be addressed on the template. It's let me see, I don't have it printed out here, but the question under impact, the two questions that we're asking people to address are, what is the current New York State energy problem this concept will address? If this concept is successful, will it matter? Quantify how this concept will make a positive impact on at least one of the state's energy goals. And what the reviewers and scoring committee are really evaluating, it fits with those questions. But if you're not addressing issues such as greenhouse gas, grid resiliency, and utilization in New York State, and if you haven't really defined how your approach will enable benefits at scale, therefore, how it will supplant existing technology, create new marketplaces in New York, you may not score anything close to the 25 points that are available. The same thing really fits with most of the other topic areas and evaluation criteria. So what I highly recommend is that when one is filling out the template, answering the questions, they answer the question in a manner that is truly consistent with the scoring criteria. That is the way to rack up the 85 points and get the invite, which it really is the goal. That's the point where you can give us a lot more detail and we can begin to iterate and come to terms with a project that makes sense for all of us. But I always steer, when people call in and are looking for, have questions, looking for advice, I always direct people back to the evaluation criteria, because that is what you really want to do, is to discuss those or answer those questions in the manner that specifically addresses the scoring criteria points. I don't think I'd be more than happy to walk through any of these in the question and answer period, and it'll immediately follow this. And with that, I think I would accept questions. I haven't seen any appear, but I'd be happy to provide some insights beyond that or answer any questions.
So just a reminder, you all have been muted, so if you would like to ask Richard a question, please press #5 on your phone. That will unmute your line so that everyone can hear you.
Well, I know okay. I didn't do that perfect a job describing the whole program, but certainly feel free to contact me if you do have questions. We clearly, throughout this whole process for this funding opportunity, are encouraging people to contact us initially, if only for the purpose to make sure that PLN 3249, the ACE program, is the place where you should be submitting a proposal to NYSERDA. We've tried to make it as easy as we could possibly do it, with a 4-page concept paper. But it's surprisingly enough, the fact that it's short actually makes it more difficult to get your points across in a manner that provides us with the information that we need to make a determination if we want to see that full proposal. So the first discussion is really, is there another focus area that you should be applying to as opposed to ACE, or is it a good fit? And how might it be best described?
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. And you were kind enough to list all of your contact information on here, so I'm assuming that you will welcome emails or phone calls from anybody that might think of a question after this has ended today. So again, thank you for joining us. This presentation has been recorded and will be posted to the RF YouTube page for future reference. And everyone that registered for this will receive a copy of the presentation as well. So if you don't have a chance to write down Richard's contact information before this ends, you will, if you have pre-registered, you will receive an email containing all of his information. So thank you so much, Mr. Drake. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
My pleasure.